מה טוב היו מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב היו מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב היו מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים יחד. הנה הנה מה טוב ומה ומנעים. אוי 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 שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים אוי אחים גם יחד. הנה 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 מה טוב ומה ומנעים. אוי 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 שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים אוי אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב אוי ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב היו מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
הנה מה טוב היו מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Congregation Cherizedek, Winnipeg on the prairies of Canada. It is a Shabbat morning, but is also a really special morning for us here at Cherizedek because we have a bar mitzvah, and not just any bar mitzvah. We have Jericho Knazan's bar mitzvah. And Jericho Knazan has been coming to Cherizedek since he could crawl. That was the first time I noticed him kind of crawling around. And now he's old. So he's going to have a bar mitzvah. Jericho has a great sense of humor. He does. And maybe he'll crack us up later. I don't know. He'll have his shot later on in the service. But for now, we're going to begin with gratitude with our morning blessings. You're invited to rise and join us on page number 5. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasek bibina levchim ben yom uben laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani betzamo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, mabish harumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, roka haaretz alamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzorki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ha'mayachin mitzadei kaveh.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifarah.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten layaf koach.
Amen.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
Please be seated, everyone. That's Leslie Emery, lay clergy, cantorial soloist.
Thank you.
I'm starting to grow your titles here. I have to print new business cards. And I'm Rabbi Matthew Leibel, and it is great to have you here, as Leslie mentioned, Congregation Shabbat Zedek, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, celebrating Shabbat, celebrating Jericho's bar mitzvah. Jericho and I started our lessons, 6 years ago? Is that what it feels like? Yeah, it's about right. And here we are, the big payoff. You may remember back in December, we had Jericho's bar mitzvah sneak peek preview, where he did his haftarah. And if you remember, then you know that today is going to be a very special morning, because in addition to Shabbat, he's a fantastic young man. It's a great family. We have a few people in attendance. And of course, we're so thankful to have the rest of you tuning in. You may be wondering, where's that Rabbi Moss fellow? Where's that Bill Wiseman fellow? Well, Bill I can't speak for. I have a guess. But when we give him the Saturday mornings off, I imagine he's at farmers markets and doing all kinds. No, he's probably at home, part of our virtual congregation, with Alice watching just like you. And Rabbi Moss, well, because of the numbers and the restrictions, only Leslie and I could be in the building. But Rabbi Moss he's close, I think. Do you have a shot of him, Marvin? Is he in the van? We don't have a shot of him yet, but we will get him later. When the Torah service rolls around, Rabbi Moss will be joining us from the van, which is just the code name for his basement with a fancy background, so that he can be a part of our service as well. Oh, the power of technology. It's so cool. But the one thing I wanted to say before we keep going, and we'll mention, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can chat with us, send messages, and please send some messages about Shabbat, but also for Jericho and his family. We'll read those as we can throughout the morning. But you can follow along with our service with a prayer book, which is on our website, www.szwinnipeg.ca. When you click on the link for the prayer books in the Sidurim, make sure you pick the one for Shabbat mornings, Saturday mornings, and festivals. And we'll call page numbers as we go through. Now, the one other thing that we just wanted to get out there is that for those of you who are some of our regulars or have seen our services before and familiar with some of our Shabbat morning tunes, today is a little bit different because we wanted to recognize what Leslie was talking about right off the beginning, and that's that the Knazan family, Josh and Primrose and Jericho and Silas, have been coming to our family service, which is kind of our alternative Shabbat morning service in the pre-COVID world, geared towards young families that Leslie has been leading for many years. And so we're trying to work a few of those tunes that you often may not hear Shabbat morning in our regular service into this morning's festivities. So I think the next one is a great example of that. And just a disclaimer, I don't play it very often, which means if there's a mistake, blame Rabbi Mas. So because he's the one who gave me the chords. The family service is exactly as it sounds. It's geared to families. It's got a lot of freilich, upbeat, fun melodies, including the next one for Psalm 150, which is on page 8 in the Sidurim. So we're going to do a few family service ones. And, of course, it's weird for me to talk about the family service because I've never once been able to attend.
Well, we had to make space for the grown-ups and for the kids, right, and the young families. But
I'm always stuck up here. I'd rather be downstairs sometimes.
It's a lot of fun, yeah. And that's why I get to watch kids grow. It's one of the best parts of being here. All right.
I think we've got it.
Are we ready? You ready?
The upbeat version of Hallelujah on page 8 again. I think this is your key. You ready?
Yep. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, El Bekocho. Hallelujah, Birki Ahuzo. Hallelujah, Bigivorotav. Hallelujah, care of good love. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, Beteka Shofar. Hallelujah, Beneva Vechinor. Hallelujah, Betofu Machol. Hallelujah, Beminim Vehukav. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, Betiltale Shama. Hallelujah, Betiltale Trua. Molan Shama Tehalalia. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
We invite everyone to rise as we pause at this part early in our service for the Mourner's Kaddish, flipping ahead to page 46. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. I think we're about to move into the official shacharit, the morning service, but I wanted to see what some of the people were saying on the chat because we had some really, really nice messages to kick things off, including our friend Phyllis Laveman, one of our regulars, saying she loves hearing the family service music. Phyllis, a big family service fan, so it's really great. Let me see what we've got from the beginning here. We'll scroll back a little bit. Bonnie Robinson wishing a Shabbat Shalom to everyone and a Mazel Tov to Jericho and his family. Eliana Gary Shabbat Shalom. So excited to watch Jericho become a bar mitzvah. Sending New York love to all. New York love. What does New York love feel like? Start spreading the news. David Wilder wishing a Shabbat Shalom to everyone and a Mazel Tov to the Knazan family from SOS. He assumed that you know what that means. Oh, there's some nods. Alice and Bill are here. They wishing a Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. Judge RLP, that's Rocky Pollock and gang, saying get Shabbos and Mazel Tov to Jericho. Josh and Primrose, Silas, Murray, Sharon, Yvonne, Joe, Eliana, and Mike, Joanne, Gary, Brent, and Nancy. Getting the whole list out there. Sandy Polanski is here as well. Shabbat Shalom to everyone and Mazel Tov. Zelda Elkin. So nice to see you here. Thank you so much, Zelda. Jonathan Schiff. Mazel Tov to Jericho and Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Melanie Richters is here. The whole family. Yuda Cherney with a little Hebrew writing, wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom. And our friend out in Toronto with us every week, Terry Kushner. Mazel Tov to the whole family. Corey Glasberg is back, a Shabbat regular of ours. So is Hannon Bell. And Lori and Israel Benoon. Wishing all the best to the entire congregation and to the family. And here we've got some out-of-town representation in Dallas, Texas. We got Gary, Joanne, Ava, Rebecca, wishing they were here and sending their love from Dallas, Texas. That's so nice. As well as Thelma Suris. Mazel Tov to Jericho and his entire circle of family and friends. So some very nice messages. Keep sending them. We'll share them. And don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. That's a like. We get 0.3 cents every time you do that, so please hit the thumbs up and subscribe so that you get notified every time we go live with one of our services. Now back to the service and the official beginning to Shacharit, led for us by Leslie Emery with Shochen Ad on page 10.
Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo.
Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo.
Befi yesharim titalal uvedivrei tzadikim titbarach uvilshon chasidim titromam uvekerev kedoshim titkadash.
The Chatzi Kaddish, bottom of the page.
Yitkada veyitkada shemei rabba.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivrach yirutei ve'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedeko beit Yisrael. V'gala uvizman karib ve'imeru amen.
Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevorach le'alam u'le'almei amaya yitbarach.
Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'yitaleh ve'yitalal shemei nekudesha
Brichu.
leila min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechemata da'amiran ve'ama ve'imeru 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 amen.
Amen. We invite you to rise As we turn now to the part of the service with the Barchu, the call to worship, a feature in our morning and evening prayers in Jewish tradition. And in the style of the family service from Congregation Sheretz Zedek, we will be doing a version by Faith Rogo called As We Bless, which you can find on page 12. You notice that I'm a little slow on the pages.
You're only doing 4 things at once.
Hey, it's better than 5 things at once. Here we go.
As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And our blessings give us strength to make our vision clear. And our blessings give us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Jackie Sipe on the chat, wishing a Shabbat Shalom to everyone and saying hi to Eliana, Joanne, Brent, and families. Mazel Tov to Jericho, Josh, Primrose, and Silas, Murray, and Sharon. Everyone in the family. Bonnie Chan wishing Shabbat Shalom and a Mazel Tov to the family. Claudette is here. Shabbat Shalom, Claudette. Harry and Rhonda are here. Evelyn Hecht from the, well, I think there was a, this is, I like this. I think it's autocorrects are the funniest, right? We live in the world of hilarious autocorrects. I know that Evelyn and Larry are out at West Hawk, but it corrected it to Esther Hawk. A little biblical thinking there. Esther Hawk. We're renaming West Hawk Esther Hawk. I like it. Leon Pinkovich is here. Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov to Jericho and family. His grandparents, Leon is saying, Jack and Sylvia, Oliver Shalom, were neighbors of his parents for many years. So nice family connection there. Alina Lashev saying Shabbat Shalom and good morning to all of our dear friends. So nice to have her. And whoever you're with, of course. Dolly Cohn is here. And then we've got Hannah Schaefer. Hannah Schaefer was with us, I think it was last week, in all caps. Hannah Schaefer is the most enthusiastic chatter today. Mazel Tov, Jerry. You got this. I assume you're Jerry. Jericho, Jerry, I guess. Very cool. And also from Diane Aronson, so happy to be here with all of you. Mazel Tov, in all caps, to Jericho and his wonderful family. Keep sending the messages, everybody. It's beautiful. We're continuing. If you're just joining us, our prayer book is available on the website, www.szwinnipeg.ca. Now we're going to do the Shema in a family service kind of style. So what do we just do it slowly, and then we go into And You Shall Love. Is that right?
It is, except I just remembered something. It had been so long I forgot. We usually do it in sign language as well. Would you guys like to do that?
Well,
You
of
can do
course.
that? Okay. So traditionally at the family service, we like to think about the meaning of the prayers a lot. And so the word Shema, Jericho, you're an expert. Do you want to come up? You've done this 1,000 times. It's your bar mitzvah. We might as well make this official.
You
want to come, Silas?
They're getting put on the spot.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're being spontaneous. It happens.
I
All
like
right.
it.
Jericho's got this. So the Shema means to listen. So the sign for listen is to put your hand to your ear. Beautiful. For Yisrael, we're going to open a Torah scroll with our hands and walk the path of the Torah because Israel is us, the people Israel. Adonai, the Lord, our God, Adonai is one. So we're going to start just with our hands, and then we'll sing it out loud. And I know there's some family service people out there watching today, and I'm picturing you joining in from home. Are you ready? Beautiful. And now I think we're ready. Do you want to go sing on the green mic there, Jericho? You can sing the Shema with me. All right. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Thank you, Jericho.
Followed by, and you shall love, a translation of the first paragraph of the Shema.
And you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you will teach them diligently unto your children, and you will speak of them when you're sitting in your house, when you are walking by the way, and when you're lying down, when you're rising up, and when you're rising up, and you will bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they will be for frontlets between your eyes, and you will write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Let's take a few moments to work our way silently through the rest of the Shema using the Hebrew or the English or your own words of reflection for this kind of moment. We'll take a few minutes now for the Shema.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Just before we turn to page 17 and get ready for Micha Mocha, a few more great messages enhancing our morning as people keep filling up the chat and the virtual congregation, which is so lovely. Clyde and Karen are here. They're liking the family service tunes and sending Mazel Tov as well to all and Shabbat Shalom. We've got Brent Knazan, my unofficial manager out west in Vancouver, I believe, right? Is that? No, that's someone different. Toronto. That's great. Okay, Mazel Tov. Brent and Nancy sending their love. Marley Lerner is here. Mazel Tov to the entire family, Marley and David. Jessica Holtzman, Mazel Tov Jericho. Shabbat Shalom from Auntie Jess and Louie in New Orleans. No, just kidding. In Noah. Very good. Who do we have? N. Stern. Norm Stern and family. So great to share. Nazan Nachas. Mazels and Shabbat Shalom. Hetty Schiff is here. Shabbat Shalom from Michigan. Hetty and Harold. Haley Crust. Mazel Tov Jerry. Another Jerry. Why didn't you tell me your nickname was Jerry? I've been looking for a nickname. It's not. Oh, okay. Well, there's a movement on the chat at your bar mitzvah to make your nickname Jerry. Just so you know. Again, you got this. Haley says you got this. Jeff Marcus, along with the family, Joanne, Leo, Sammy, they're loving the family service. Of course, they're family service regulars. Andrea is here as well, saying Shabbat Shalom. And Phyllis singing harmony with You Shall Love as she does in the family service. So just wonderful. And now we'll go to Micha Mocha. This is a tune that I think we do in the family service, but also upstairs. Page 17.
Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Shira chadasha shibchu geulim leshimcha al tzvatayam yachad kulam hodu ve'imlichu ve'amru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh.
Please rise.
Tzur Yisrael, kuma b'ezrat Yisrael, ufedechinu mecha Yehuda beYisrael, bo aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo kedosh Yisrael. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Now that we're standing, we can move into the Amidah, the standing prayer, the central prayer of each and every one of our Jewish prayer services. We've built to it throughout the morning service here. It begins on page 18, and as we do pretty much every week, we will do it in a Heicha Kedusha style. Leslie will lead us through the beginning. We'll sing with her, and then when we get through the end of Lador Vador, we'll have an opportunity to move into our own silent prayer, following the prayer book in the Hebrew or in the English, or substituting our own words of prayer, being mindful that the Amidah is positioned by the sages in our tradition as being a private audience before God. So, we begin on page 18.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Omer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakov, Ve'zocher Chasdei Havot, U'mevii Goel Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayem etim ata, Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hata. Mechakel chaim v'chesed, mechaye metim v'rachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rofeh cholim u'matir asurim, u'mekayem emunato Shenei Afar, Mi Chamocha, Bagevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Meimit Umechaye, Uatzmiach Yeshua. Nemanata le'achayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hametim.
Page 20.
Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, keshem shemakdishim oto, Bishmei Marom Kakatuv Ayad Neviecha Bekara Zeze Be'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Meloko haaretz kevodo. Az bekorash gadol, adir v'chazak mashmim kol, midnasim le'umat terafim, Lumatam Baruch Yomeru, Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimekomo. Mimkomecha Malkeinu Tofia, Etim Loch Aleinu, Ki mechakim anachnu lach, Matai, 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 Timloch Betzion, בקרוב בקרוב בימינו לעולם לעת תשכון תתקדם ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים לדור ודור לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים ועינינו תיראנה תיראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור
לדור ודור
לדור ודור
לדור ודור
לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך ולנצח נצחים ולנצח נצחים קדושתך קדושתך נקדיש לשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם לעולם ועד לדור ודור
לדור ודור
לדור ודור
לדור ודור
לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך כי המלך גדול גדול וקדוש גדול וקדוש אתה כי המלך גדול גדול וקדוש גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש
We invite you to remain standing and continue now with the silent Amidah. Again, you can use the Hebrew or English as you follow through the prayer book, or remembering it's a private audience before God, using your own words of prayer to make the most of these next few moments of silence and meditation and introspection. Now the silent Amidah. When you finish your prayers, you may be seated. I always love pointing out that the end of the Amidah, regardless of if it's the morning or the afternoon or the evening, always ends with a prayer for peace. And so, as they do in the family service, we are going to end with a prayer for peace. Oseh Shalom, which
is on page 28.
But that's right.
Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'yimeru Amen.
Kaddish Shalem, page 32.
Yitkara v'yitkara shemer Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivrach yiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayech beit Yisrael. Bagalav v'zman kari v'yimeru.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach. Le'alam u'la'amei amaya Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitram v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha
Brichu.
brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata damiram be'ama v'yimeru.
Amen.
Titkabel tzilton uvauton de kol Yisrael kadamavu andi v'shma v'yimeru.
Amen.
Yehi shlam araba min shemaya v'chaim alin v'el kol Yisrael v'yimeru.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru.
Amen. Well, a yasher kochech to you, Leslie. What a beautiful shacharit that you led us through. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It really felt good to revisit those old melodies. Thank you all so much for suggesting it. It feels like home, and I hope you enjoyed them from your homes. Yasher koach, Rabbi Matthew.
It was a pleasure. Family service. Just a great thing, and we look forward to having it back up and running. We'll miss you in the sanctuary service, but I know the family service fans can't wait to get back to that, hopefully soon. Coming up next, we have the Torah service, but before that, we're going to kind of shift focus and get, well, I guess it's not shifting, but it's our focus, get the family up on the bima. Jericho had a little bit of an impromptu role there in the Shema, which we weren't going to run by him because we know he would have said no, so that's why we kind of threw him in here. But now, it's kind of our first big moment of the bar mitzvah, because mixed in with our Shabbat morning celebration and service this morning, we have Jericho finally reaching this milestone in his life that he's been working towards for so long and being patient with as the pandemic has delayed it. And now we are here in the sanctuary, and he'll be up on the bima, and he'll be reading from the Torah and making blessings from the Torah and chanting his haftarah and giving a speech. But the first symbol of this moment in his life of reaching, as we say in Judaism, the age of majority, adulthood, is to receive the talit. So Jericho, come to the bima with your parents. Primrose, Josh. The talit is the Jewish prayer shawl. It's a biblical commandment. It comes from a place in the book of Numbers where Moses tells the people that God has commanded them to wear fringes, tzitzit, on their clothes. And our interpretation is to create the shawl, but it's not the talit that is so important, it's the tzitzit. It's far away, but I'm holding them up. Each corner of the prayer shawl has tzitzit, these specially knotted and tied fringes that are symbols of the mitzvot, the commandments. Mitzvot is the plural of mitzvah, like in bar mitzvah, which means a son of the commandments. To this point in his life, Jericho's been learning the way by following his parents. But any time he may have misstepped, and don't worry, with Jericho, there are very few times he's misstepped. He just said that's wrong. It's been on his parents. But from this moment forward, now that he is a bar mitzvah, the responsibility is on him. And everything building to today, everything today is for him to prove that he is ready to take on the responsibility of this mitzvot. So, this talit, which Jericho's Bubby Yvonne purchased in Israel as a special gift and is truly beautiful, should remind you, Jericho, every time you wear it in synagogue or in Israel or at a prayer service, of the work you've put in, of how special a milestone this is in your life, and of the fact that it symbolizes through its tzitzit that you are now taking on the responsibility that all Jewish boys do when they become men and Jewish girls when they become women, to be a leader, to make decisions for yourself, to understand who you are, where you come from, and where you want to go. Pretty amazing for what seems at first like a piece of fabric. But it's so much more than that. It is your talit. And now, Leslie's got the microphone so we can hear you chant the blessing or read the blessing as you put it on for the first time, a gift from your grandparents and parents.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu b'hitatef hatzitzit.
Amen. Mazel tov. Now, why don't we get Silas up on the bima as well to help his family with the next part of our service, which is the opening of the ark as we move right into the Torah service. We invite you, wherever you are, please rise. We're on page 33, and we are now joined by Rabbi Anibal Mas through the power of Zoom to lead us in this next part of the service. Page 33, Rabbi, Shabbat Shalom.
Hello, everyone.
Take it away.
Shabbat Shalom. So, Vayehi binso Aharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, Veyafonso Evecha, Veyanusu Mesarecha, Mipanecha, Ki Mitzion Tetze Torah, Ki Mitzion Tetze Torah, Udevar Adonai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adoneinu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adoneinu, Kadosh Shemo.
גדלו לאדוני איתי, ונרוממה שמו יכתב. לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, כל בשמיים ובארץ, אדוני הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו לאדון רלב קדוש הוא. רוממו אדוני אלינו והשתחוו ליער קודשו, כי קדוש Adonai Eloheinu.
Please be seated. Yasher Koach, Rabbi.
Baruch Tiyeh, Rabbi.
How's the van?
No, there is no van today.
Oh, well, it's so nice. An hour into the service here. It's 11 o'clock in Winnipeg, and it is perfect time to move into the Torah reading. So we're going to switch our books. If you have a hard copy, the book looks like this, red-ish, leather-bound book. It's called a Chumash. This particular version is the Etz Chaim Chumash. It allows us to follow along with the Torah reading in either the Hebrew or the English. There's even some wonderful commentary along the way. If you don't have a Chumash at home, we have PDF copies of the readings photocopied from this exact Chumash on our website again, just like the prayer book, www.szwinnipeg.ca, and you can follow along with the reading. It's page 880. Today's Parsha is Chukat, and as we follow the triennial cycle, usually we're reading the middle of these Parshiot, but it's a little bit strange with Chukat. It has some interesting breakdowns in history. It's very technical, but we're actually reading the very beginning of this Parsha. If you have a different Chumash at home, you can find it easily in another Chumash or another Bible. The book is the book of Numbers, the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. And today we begin in chapter 19, right at the beginning of Numbers, chapter 19. And then we'll continue into chapter 20. Now you should know a couple of things. There will be an interesting addition to the end of our Torah reading. As it works when we read from the Parsha, we have 7 aliyot, 7 readings from Chukat, and we will do that. But of course, this was not Jericho's original bar mitzvah date. It wasn't even Jericho's second bar mitzvah date, and so he has prepared Torah readings for 2 other Parshiot. And when we postponed from back in May, we decided, we're not going to learn something from this Parsha. That's fine. Jericho's Torah readings are great. And so we have a second Torah out that is ready for what Jericho has learned. And I'll explain that with our 8th and 9th readings. Our 8th reading, known as Acharon, and our 9th reading, the Maftir, that we've been waiting. We've been waiting to hear from Jericho. But we start with the Parsha. And Leslie Emery is going to be our first Torah reader this morning. With Rishon, our first aliyah, again, page 880, if you have the Etz Chaim, Numbers chapter 19. What do you need to know? Bnei Yisrael, the Israelites, are in the wilderness. They've been in the wilderness for quite some time. They are still there. In fact, they're really in the wilderness for the rest of the Torah. They get basically to the land of Canaan at the end. They're not there right now. They are in the wilderness. Now, there is some discrepancy about what we're going to read later on, whether or not they've already wandered for 40 years or they're about to wander for 40 years. Two kind of different traditions. Some people think that the events that we read today happened at the very beginning of the 40 years. Remember, a couple weeks ago, we read about the spies, and the spies brought the report, 10 of them, that really freaked everybody out, and they complained, and God's punishment was this generation can't handle. They were able to come out of Egypt, but they can't handle going into the promised land, so we're going to wander for 40 years. They're going to die out, and then the new generation will go in. So some people think that what we're reading today is right after that, 40 years still to come, or 38 years or whatever. Some people think it's at the end of the 40 years. I'll leave it to you to figure out whether you see the glass as half full or half empty. I'm not saying which one is which. The point is, what we start off today with is in our first 4 aliyot, our first 4 readings cover a very interesting ritual that opens the Parsha of Chukat. It's the ritual of the Para Aduma, the red cow, the red heifer. You may remember that in the weeks leading up to Passover every year, we have special additional readings. One of them is the entire reading of the red cow. And the reason is that it's not so much story, but it's a ritual that they followed in the wilderness, and then later when the temple was built. Going to the temple for the major holidays, of which Passover was the first, was a big deal, but you could not go to the temple if you were ritually impure. And one of the most common ways people became ritually impure was proximity to a corpse. If you were even in the same room or the same tent with a dead body, you had contracted ritual impurity. And you had to go through certain steps to cleanse yourself of this ritual impurity, and that is what the ritual of the red heifer is. This big red cow, probably more of like a brownish tint, what we call it, like we're not talking like a red the way the Etz Chaim book is red, but like a shade of brown, auburn or Titian or something like that, right? And then the cow is slaughtered, it's burned, its ashes are used to create a mixture using water and some other herbs to create this mixture that is sprinkled on people, and this is what is used to cleanse people of their ritual impurity when they're close to a dead body. And we read this leading up to Passover because people used to go through this leading up to Passover so they'd be able to participate in that ritual. But it's something that's done all the time, and it's the last thing about it, the Para Aduma, is that it confounds a lot of scholars forever. They say King Solomon. Why is King Solomon could never figure out the Para Aduma? What is there that's hard to figure out? Well, the ritual, the process involves many people. Someone to slaughter the cow and burn the cow down, someone to collect the ashes, someone to create the mixture, someone to sprinkle it on the affected person. All people who are participants in the ritual of the red cow become impure temporarily by their participation in this process, which makes the affected person become pure. And why does this happen? That is what's confounded people. That is what confounded King Solomon. I once heard it described that shouldn't be so confusing. It's very much like when you go to clean your house and you start with a clean sponge and a dirty house and you end up with a clean house and a dirty sponge. Seemed pretty easy to me, King Solomon, but it's one of these mysteries with no explanation, and we're going to see it unfold. It's the first part of our reading today, and now we will get into it. Page 880, Numbers, chapter 19, verses 1 through 6. Our first honorees this morning, they're not joining us on Zoom, but we know they're watching. They are celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary. Lawrence and Dolly Cohen, we are thrilled to be able to mark this simcha with them and with all of you, their 56th wedding anniversary. I will have the honor of reciting the blessings on their behalf as we move into our first Torah reading. V'yazor v'yev'yashil l'chol ha'chosim bo v'nomar amen. Hakol avu godel Eloheinu, tnu chavel Torah yamdu. Penina bat Shmuel v'Tama, v'Label ben Moshe u'Pasa Rachel. Lalia Rishona, Baruch Shenatan Trama Yisrael b'kedushato. Ve'atem adveki b'Adonai Elohechem, Chaim kolchem hayom. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim. V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe vel Aharon lemor. Zot chukat haTorah asher tiva Adonai lemor. Daber el bnei Yisrael vayikchu elecha paraduma atvima asher ein bamum asher ola lehaol ונתתם אותה אל אלעזר הכהן, והוציא אותה מחוץ למחנה, ושחט אותה לפניו, ולקח אלעזר הכהן מדמה באצבעו, והיזה אל נוכח פני אוהל מועד, מדמה 7 פעמים, ושרף את הפרה לעיניו, את הוריו, את בשריו, את דמה, על פרשה ישרוף, ולקח הכהן את ארז, וזוב ושני תולד, והשליך אל תוך שרפת הפרה.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tocheinu. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Mi sheberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu yevarech et Penina bat Shmuel v'Tama v'et Label ben Moshe u'Pasa Rachel Ba'avur sheba'u hayom lehodot l'Shem kodsho al kol hachesed asher gamal lahem miyom chatunatam miyom sichat labam ad hayom hazeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishmerem v'yatzilem mikol tzara v'tzukah u'mikol nego machala v'yishlach bracha v'tzacha b'chol maseh yedehem omim kol Yisrael achehem v'nomar Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Dolly and Lawrence Cohen, who are here today with gratitude for all the blessings their 56 years of married life together have afforded them. To both of you, we say, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, protect you and deliver you. May you continue to enjoy God's blessings in the new song of your years to come, embraced by the love of children and grandchildren, so that you may always live in joy and gladness, sason v'simcha, and in peace and companionship, shalom v'reut, just like it says in the Sheva Brachot, the 7 blessings recited under the chuppah for you 56 years ago. And let us all say, Amen. Od yishama behare Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Od yishama behare Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Kol sason v'kol simcha, kol chatan v'kol kala. Kol sason v'kol simcha, kol chatan v'kol kala. Mazel tov. 56 years. That's an incredible anniversary. And we've had some celebrations, and it's great to have another one here, another milestone, and a wonderful Yasher Koach to both Dolly and Lawrence for marking this occasion with all of us. Hopefully next year in person. And then you'll have to tell us the secret. 56 years. It's great. It's really, really wonderful. We'll move on to our next Aliyah Sheni as Leslie continues for us. Page 881, moving on to verse 7. Our honorees are celebrating another wedding anniversary. Incredible, 68 years for Penny and Jerry Califf. It's also Jerry's 93rd birthday, so a double simcha. So Jerry celebrating his birthday, but Penny and Jerry celebrating their 68th anniversary. So special. They're not with us on Zoom, but we know they're watching, and it's my honor to recite the blessings on their behalf as we call them to the Torah for the second Aliyah. Numbers, chapter 19, verses 7 through 9, continuing the ritual of the Para Adumah, the red heifer. Yamdu Malka bar Eli Melech v'Rachel v'Gershon ben Yitzchak v'Chana l'Aliyah hashniya. Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. V'chibes begadav hakohen v'rachatz besaro b'mayim v'achar yavo el hamachaneh v'tameh hakohen ad ha'arev asor efota yichabes begadav b'mayim v'rachatz besaro b'mayim v'tameh ad ha'arev v'asaf ish tahor et efer ha'para v'hiniach מחוץ למחנה במקום טהור, והייתה לעדת בני ישראל למשמרת, למי נידח חטאתי.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Misheberach Avoteinu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yevarech Et Malka bar Eli Melech v'Rachel v'Gershon ben Yitzchak v'Chana Bavur Shabbat Hayom lehodot l'Shem Kodsho Al Kol HaChesed Asher Gamal Lahem Miyom Chatunatam Umiyom Simchat Labam Ad Hayom Hazeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmerem v'Yatzilem Mikol Tzara v'Tzukah Mikol Nega U'Machala V'Yishlach Bracha v'Tzacha B'Chol Masei Yedehem Im Kol Yisrael Achehem v'Nomar Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Penny and Jerry Caliph, who are here today with gratitude for all the blessings their 68 years of married life together have afforded them. May the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, protect both of you and deliver you. May you continue to enjoy God's blessings in the new song of your years to come, embraced by the love of children and grandchildren, so that you may always live in joy and gladness, sason v'simcha, and in peace and companionship, shalom and re'ut. Special blessings from the Sheva Brachot recited on your wedding day 68 years ago. Amazing. Let us all say, Amen. Od yishama behare Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Od yishama behare Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Kol sason vekol simcha, kol chatan vekol kala. Kol sason vekol simcha, kol chatan vekol kala. Mazel tov again. And a second Mishaberach, because a 93rd birthday is certainly something to be celebrated, as well as a 68th wedding anniversary. Just amazing milestones. So to Jerry, we offer this one as well. Mishaberach Avoteinu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yevarech Et Gershon ben Yitzchak v'Chana She'ala Hayom Lichvod HaMakom v'Lichvod HaTorah v'Lichvod HaShabbat Ulehodot Al Kol HaChasadim Asher Gamal Lo Elohim Miyom Hivaldo Ad Hayom Hazeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor Oto v'Kol Mishpachto V'Yishlach Bracha v'Tzacha B'Chol Masei Yadav Im Kol Yisrael Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Jerry Caliph, who has come for an aliyah this morning with reverence for God and respect for the Torah and this Shabbat, grateful to God for the gift of life which he has enjoyed until this day. Jerry, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, bless you with length of years, with good health, with the pleasures of Torah study, and with the profound satisfaction that comes from a life of ma'asim tovim, that is a life of good deeds. In celebrating this and other birthdays, may your example continue to remind us, people may count the days of their life, but a person of wisdom makes every day count. And let us all say, Amen. Simin tovu, mazel tovu, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tovu, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov. Yehelanu, 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 ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. And a mazel tov and Yom Huledet Sameach to you, Jerry, at Mea Ve'Esrim. Jerome put in the chat, miss seeing you at services every week, Jerry. We all say the same, and we know that you watch us every week, and so we still get to be a part of your routine. But we look forward to being able to celebrate more simchas like your anniversary and your birthday in person next year. But wow, so cool, 93 years. Jerry Califf comes from a rabbinical family, and he never hesitates to point out little things that have helped me along the way, going back to the beginning of my career. So I am very indebted to Jerry especially, to so many people in the congregation. But he would always kind of have his coffee and then saunter up to me at Kiddush, and just before he left, give me something to think about, and I'd be just, wow, yeah, great. So, Jerry, we miss you, and a happy birthday and a happy anniversary to you and to Penny. Shlishi is next. Leslie's going to read one more for us. Chapter 19 here in Numbers, verse 10. Joining us on Zoom for this next Aliyah, which begins on page 881, is Gloria Cantor, another one of our Shabbat morning regulars. With this Aliyah, she is commemorating her brother Albert Shapiro's yortzeit. So we've got Gloria on Zoom. We'll call her up and let her recite the blessings. Tamod Gidol Shendel Bad Yaakov Eliba Laliyah Hashlishit.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Echibes haosef et efer hapara et begadav v'tameh ad ha'arev v'ayta livnei Yisrael v'lager hagar betocham lechukat olam הנוגע באמת לכל נפש האדם, וטמא 7 ימים, הוא יתחטא בו. ביום השלישי וביום השביעי יטהר, אם לא יתחטא. ביום השלישי וביום השביעי לא יטהר, כל הנוגע באמת בנפש, האדם אשר ימות ולא יתחטא. את משכן אדוני טימא ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מישראל, כי מנידה לא זרוק עליו טמא יהיה, או טומאתו בו. זאת התורה, אדם כי ימות באוהל, כל הבא אל האוהל וכל אשר באוהל יטמא 7 ימים, וכל כלי פתוח אשר אם צמיד פתיל עליו טמא הוא, וכל אשר ייגע על פני השדה, וכל חרב או במת או בעצם אדם או בקבר, יטמא 7 ימים, ולקחו לטמא מעפר שרפת החטאת, ונתן עליו מים חיים אל כלי.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu toret emet v'chaye olam natochenu Baruch atah Adonai notena haTorah.
Amen.
Could I just say something?
Of course.
Absolutely, Gloria, please.
I want to take this opportunity to express a tremendous thank you on behalf of my family, Alan, Stephen, and myself, and I'm sure the whole congregation, to the entire staff, clergy, everybody at Zedek, who have been so phenomenal in keeping these services going and all the other things they do for us. A very big thank you. Just a wonderful, wonderful mitzvah for all of us. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. What a nice sentiment. We appreciate it very much. Yeah, we've got an incredible team here. I'd be the first to say that. I'll say all the time, and nothing, not even a pandemic, will stop us from bringing services. Of course, in person will be better, and we look forward to that as soon as we can. I feel like we're close, but Gloria, wow, you touched us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria. And thank you, everybody who's been with us for this journey and for sticking with us. We really appreciate you all.
Thank you. Celebrating milestones, anniversaries, birthdays, commemorating yard sites, celebrating bar mitzvahs. It's been, it's kept us going, and it's been fabulous. And Gloria, we know you're remembering your brother today, and may his memory continue to be a blessing. Leslie, Yasher Kochach, beautiful Torah readings.
Baruch Tia, thank you.
Absolutely great. We've got one more to finish off the ritual of the red heifer, the para aduma. I will slide up there. I've got my mask. Move up there and move into our fourth aliyah, Revi'i, Numbers chapter 19, verses 18 through 22. Finishing the chapter. Begins on page 883 in the Etz Chaim Chumash. Our honoree on Zoom is Leon Pinkovich. We're going to call him up. We'll let him recite the blessings. And he is marking his grandfather, for whom he was named, I can only assume, Leon Pinkovich's yortzeit. Yamod leben asher v'rochol l'liaharvit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Noten haTorah.
Amen. V'lakach ezo v'tavao b'mayim ishtahor v'yizal ha'oil v'al kol ha'kelim v'al ha'nefashot asher hayu sham v'al ha'nogea ba'etzemo v'chalal v'mero v'kaver v'yizal tahor al ha'tameh b'yom ha'shlishi u'v'yom ha'shvi v'chito b'yom ha'shvi v'chibes b'gadav v'rachatz b'mayim v'taher ba'arev v'ish asher yitama v'lo yitchata v'nichreta הנפש ההיא מתוך הקהל כי מקדש אדוני טימא מי נידה לא זרק עליו טמא הוא והייתה להם לחוקת עולם ומזה מי הנידה יכבס בגדיו והנוגע במי הנידה ידמד ערב וכל אשר ייגע בו הטמא ידמע והנפש הנוגעת תתמד הערב.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach, Leon. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, Rabbi, echo Gloria's comments, but also to you specifically, Rabbi Leibel. This is my last aliyah to have with you present, and just, I know that things will carry on, but it's, to make a Seinfeld quote, because I have to, it's a pretty big matzo ball that's hanging out there. So, but we're going to miss you, and we hope that we'll see you. We hope you're, not going to drop off the face of the earth, and that we will see you here and there. So.
I promise I won't. I'm not going anywhere. And Leon, really appreciate that. Leon and I bond over Seinfeld all the time. He's good for great quotes. Sometimes he catches me off guard. He keeps me on my toes. The matzo ball one, that one's out there. Thank you, Leon. And I know you're remembering your grandfather, and want to wish that may his memory be a blessing. And thank you for joining us, and for the very kind words, especially for the team here, my colleagues, clergy who you see, people behind the scenes like my favorite Marvin Polanski, and people in the office who keep everything going. Just really, really appreciate it. They will keep everything going, I assure you. And me, I'm not going anywhere. And people like Leon who have my cell number, I'm not changing it. At least yet. We'll see what happens. So that finishes up our fourth Aliyah and the red heifer business. And we move on to the next chapter, which is chapter 20. Numbers chapter 20 begins on page 883 and resumes our wilderness narrative. And this is where people disagree. Has it been 40 years of wandering? Are they about to do 40 years of wandering? What we're going to read today, though, wherever it happens in the timeline, is less important than what actually happens, because this is one of those seminal moments of the wilderness experience. There are experiences early on, parting of the sea, revelation at Mount Sinai. We know those. Those are big. The golden calf, that's a big one as well. But one of the biggest ones, especially for Moshe, for Moses, happens in this Parsha. And so we're going to get to that here as we resume the wilderness narrative, and we lose someone from Moshe's family. Let's follow along and see what's happening. Again, page 883, Numbers chapter 20. Now, from here out for the rest of the Torah reading, our honorees are all part of Jericho's family. He looks thrilled. We'll start with Eliana Gary and Jessica Holtzman joining us on Zoom. Of course, for those on Zoom, we wish so much they could be with us in Winnipeg, but they are with us and enhancing our service, for which we are so grateful. Eliana and Jessica are joining us on Zoom for Chamishi, this fifth Aliyah, Numbers chapter 20. Ta'amodna Eliana ba Moshe v'Leah, v'Yosefa bat Zusa v'Leah, l'Aliyah ha'chamishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayavo v'nei Yisrael kol haida midbartzin b'chodesh harishon vayeshev ha'am bekadesh v'tamod sham Miriam v'tikaver sham v'lo haya ma'im laida v'yikalu al Moshe ve'al Aharon v'yarev ha'am im Moshe v'yomru le'mor ve'lu gavanu bigvachenu lifnei Adonai v'lama havetem et kahal Adonai al hamidbar hazeh lamud sham anachnu v'reinu v'lama helitunu mimitzrayim lavi otanu el hamakom hara hazeh lo mekom zera uteina ve'gefen ve'rimon u'mayim ayin lishtod v'yavo Moshe ve'Aharon mipnei hakahal El petach o el moed vayiplu al pneihem vayirach vod Adonai aleihem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher kochachen to Eliana Gary and Jessica Holtzman joining us on Zoom for this fifth Aliyah, and Mazel Tov to you on Jericho's bar mitzvah. Jericho, the family Aliyahs have started. That means your reading's coming up. Are you feeling the pressure? I don't know if we have a dedicated camera that captures his facial expressions, but Jericho looks like, other than the fact that he's wearing a suit, he could be anywhere right now. It's funny, I just want to point out quickly, every bar mitzvah student and bat mitzvah student in this COVID era, where there aren't a lot of people in the sanctuary, I say to them, you can sit up here in the fancy blue chairs, or you can sit with your family. Every other student takes family. Jericho is the first and only student I can recall who was like, you mean I don't have to sit with them? I'm going to go sit in the corner. Oh, it's nice. It's nice. Jericho's Torah reading is coming up. Let's continue. As you saw, Miriam, a somber moment there at the beginning. Miriam's death, it's mentioned very quickly, but the rabbis have done a lot of unpacking, and you probably are familiar with the fact that there's this concept of the well of Miriam, Miriam's well, that follows Bnei Israel through the wilderness and provides water for them, and that comes from the fact that her death is so closely linked, as we just read, to a water shortage. So that's a very interesting tradition that comes there. In this parsha, Aaron, we don't read it today, but Aaron, Moses' brother, dies. So it's a very difficult parsha for Moshe, especially with those deaths and what's about to come next, because this water shortage leads to, well, let's see what it leads to. In our sixth reading, She, page 884, Numbers chapter 20, verses 7 through 13. Our honorees on Zoom, Yvonne Holtzman and Joseph Holtzman, joining us as part of Jericho's bar mitzvah celebration. Yamdu Leah Bad Yosef Itzipora, Vizusa ben Mendel Vesibli Lelia Shishit.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayidaber Adonai al Moshe lemor, kach et hamateh, v'kakhel et ha'edah ve'aron achecha, v'dibartem el asel eleinehem v'natan meimav, ve'hotzeita lahem mayim min asela v'hishkita et ha'edah ve'et biram. Vayikach Moshe et hamatem milifnei Adonai kasher tzivahu, vayakilu Moshe ve'Aharon et hakahal pnei hasala, vayomer lahem shimuna hamorim, hamin hasela hazeh notzi lachem mayim, vayarem Moshe et yado, vayach et hasela b'matehu pa'amayim, vayetzu mayim rabim, vatesh ta'ida uviram, vayomer Adonai el Moshe ve'Aharon, yan lo ha'amantem bi lahakdisheni leinei bnei Yisrael, lachen lo taviu et hakahal hazeh el haaretz asher natati lahem, hema mei meriva asher avu bnei Yisrael et Adonai vayikadesh bam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We know very, very much that Yvonne and Joe wanted to be here. We are so thrilled that they could join us on Zoom. Mazel tov to both of you on Jericho's bar mitzvah. And hopefully soon we'll get to have you together as a family, but still so nice to be together in this way. Thank you. Yasher koach, and again, mazel tov. Getting to the reading there and what we covered, I tried to slow down to accentuate some of the the nuances in that very, very important reading, because as you were following along, you saw this is the moment where Moses errs and loses the promised land. It just happens like that, so fast, right? God tells Moses and Aaron, talk to this rock, and the rock will produce water. Earlier in the book of Exodus, there was an episode very similarly where Moses was supposed to hit the rock and it produced water, but here he was supposed to talk to the rock, and he didn't. He hit the rock, pa'amayim, twice, as you saw. Water comes out, but immediately God comes down and says, no. And he's not very clear. God doesn't say, it's because you hit the rock, right? It's a little bit more vague. It's because of how you acted in front of the people and what you did with my name. Basically, you didn't listen, but it's a little bit vague. But for that incident, for hitting the rock, Moses misses out on the promised land. So what's the deal? Is this an overreaction? Is this harsh? Of all the things that have happened in the wilderness, this moment, the way I always kind of envisioned it was that, and you can see in the lead up, I slowed it down. Moses, before he hits the rock, he kind of yells at the people, right? They've gotten on his nerves. Listen up, you people. Look at what we're about to do. We're going to get water out of the rock for you. Come on, quiet down. Boom, boom, rock, right? So it's kind of like a moment of impulse and passion where he loses his better judgment. Moses is always so good at talking God down. When God gets very passionate and wants to destroy the people, negotiating, he's usually very slow to say something. This is very reactive. It feels like a very reactive moment. I always compare it to that moment in Hamlet, if you know Hamlet, where Hamlet, who never ever acts impulsively, has one moment where, spoiler alert, he stabs into the curtain and Polonius is there and then everything starts falling apart. That one moment of impulse and reaction, kind of becomes Moses' undoing. But not all the rabbis were satisfied. In fact, the rabbis said that what's missing here, and I tried to slow it down, is what he says right before he hits the rock. And I tried to slow it down there because Moses says, Shimuna hamorim, listen up, you rebels. Hamin hasela hazeh, from this rock, notzi, we will bring lachem mayim. Notzi, we, my brother and I. And in a verse, just a few verses before, the people kind of attribute the Exodus to Moses and Aaron when we know it should be attributed to God and only God. This is why Moses isn't in the Haggadah. We never mention Moses at Passover because there's no confusion. Moses did not take the Hebrew people, the Jews, the Israelites out of Egypt. God did. Moses did not bring water out of the rock. God did. But when Moses gets up there and says, Hamin hasela hazeh notzi lachem, look, quiet down. Can't we bring you water? Look at us. We are about to bring water out of the rock. A lot of the rabbis say it is for that. Moses lost perspective. His arrogance, his ego got the better of him. Something that was very rare for Moses. But even in this moment, he said he got confused and he thought too much of what he was doing and didn't realize that it was all really God's work and he was just the messenger. And for that, a lot of the rabbis say Moses did not get into the promised land. For what it's worth. Something to think about. Shvi'i is next, our seventh and final reading from this parsha of Chukat. Murray and Sharon Knazan are here. They're coming up to the bima to recite the blessings. Page 886, Numbers chapter 20, verses 14 through 21. There's a little business of now that you need to try and can't go through the south like with the spies. They're going to try and cut through the land of Edom. Remember, Edom, descendants of Esav, the original Edom, Yaakov's brother. But that wasn't such a great relationship, and apparently neither is the one between Edom and Bnei Israel. Let's see. Yamdu Saraliba bat Tzvi v'tziro Moshe ben Yaakov u'tzivia l'aliyah hashvi'it.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacher banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayishlach Moshe malachim mikadesh el melech Edom. Ko amar achicha Yisrael ata yadata et kol atla asher mitzatanu vayerdu avotenu Mitzrayma vanesha b'Mitzrayim yamim rabim vayareu lanu Mitzrayim v'lavotenu Vanitzak el Adonai vayishma kolenu vayishlach malach vayotzienu mimitzrayim v'hinei anachnu bekadesh ir ksei gvulecha nabrana ve'artzecha lo navor besadeh v'cherem v'lo nishte meber derech hamelech nelech lo nite yamin u'smol ad asher navor gvulecha Vayomer elav edom lo tavor bi pen bacherev etzel likratecha vayomru elav bnei Yisrael b'mesila naleh v'meimecha nishte ani umiknai v'natati michram rakin davar beragli evora Vayomer lo tavor vayetze edom likrato be'am kaved uviad chazaka vayimaen edom netone Yisrael avor bigvulo vayid Yisrael me'alav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach to Murray and Sharon on this Aliyah, Mazel Tov on Jericho's Bar Mitzvah. When I started at the synagogue 17 years ago, Murray was the ritual committee chair. And so we've had many chats and shared experiences along the way, and it is really nice that we get to be a part of this celebration. So many people talking about today, encouraging me and all of my colleagues along the way, so it's so great to celebrate it. That concludes the reading from the Parsha. We've got Jericho's readings coming up, so we'll get ready for that and tell you about them in a second. But first, I invite everyone to rise for Hagbah and Glila. Leslie Emery is going to come up and lift and tie the Torah for us. This is the Torah that they use in the family service. So things are really kind of connected. So we invite you to rise for Hagbah and Glila for the first scroll. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Please be seated. So let me explain what's going to happen next and why we have a second scroll today. As Leslie finishes dressing this Torah scroll, be able to get the second scroll out and get ready to read from it. We've got two readings from this scroll from different places in the Torah, but they're close to each other. Thank goodness it worked out that way. And these are the two readings Jericho has learned. So let me back you up. When we first picked this bar mitzvah date, it was in December of 2020 on the Shabbat in Hanukkah. It was going to be so great. Hanukkah, everyone loves Hanukkah. Everyone loves Shabbat. Everyone loves a bar mitzvah. It was going to be perfect. And so as a result, Jericho and I spent some time studying. He mastered the Torah tropes very well. He's got great musical ability, musical sense. He's great with Hebrew. He learned the tropes. And then we learned this Torah reading. And the Torah reading for Shabbat Hanukkah is very special. It comes from the book of Numbers, from the Parsha of Naso, and a time in the wilderness experience where the tabernacle had just been completed. And then every day for 12 days, someone, a representative of a tribe, brings a gift. And each day they bring the same exact gift. But the Torah goes through it and says, rather than saying they brought the same gift, every tribe gets its due, every tribe gets its mention, and we see the gift. So that was the first Torah reading that Jericho learned. And then in November, early November, the lockdown hit us and we had to postpone, and we said, okay, well, we're going to keep this Torah reading. We'll add it to whatever Shabbat that we get. And then we finally realized that things were going to look better in the spring, so we picked a date in May of 2021. And the parsha of that week, which was just a few weeks ago, was Bechukotai, the last parsha in the book of Leviticus. And so Jericho and I learned what would have been the Shvi'i, the seventh and final reading of that morning. And just like he did with his reading for Shabbat Hanukkah, he mastered it. He sounded great. And then in April, there was another lockdown, and we weren't going to be able to have anybody in the building. And Jericho and I had a lesson, and he looked at me and said, well, he didn't say, because he says a lot to me with his eyes. He's a man of few words, but I've learned over the year and a half that we've spent together to read his eyes. You know, my wife always tells me, Tyra Banks, the model, she talks about smizing, smiling with your eyes. Jericho can say a million things with his eyes, and with his eyes, he said to me, if you think I'm going to learn a third Torah reading, you are out of your mind. All with his eyes. You did do that. Show them the eyes. Just like that. So I said, fine, Jericho, this is what we're going to do. Whenever we can figure out which date this is going to be, we're going to add the 2 Torah readings you have learned so beautifully from a second scroll. And thankfully, they are so close that we don't need a third scroll. They're really close. We can roll from one to the next. So we're going to start with the one that would have been the more recent one, the one from Bechukotai, the end of Leviticus, which really actually is quite cool because it kind of caps the end of a long book where law upon law upon law, mitzvah upon mitzvah is given. And today is a day of you celebrating the mitzvot. So that's pretty cool. So that's where we are. In the Yetz Chaim, we're page 752. We're Leviticus chapter 26, verses 44 through 46. So that's page 752, Leviticus chapter 26, verses 44 through 46. This is the parents' aliyah. So Primrose, Josh, please come up, join us on the bima to recite the blessings. Oh, no, you can. I assume you're still letting him live in your house, right? So everything is okay. Okay, that's good.
Rabbi Matt, he actually gave me an option of 2 Torahs. Well, it wasn't really an option. There were 2 Torahs, a red one and a blue one. The blue one was way lighter and smaller. So he said, that wouldn't be much of a challenge. Go take the red one.
Well, I had to get back at you somehow. If you want to uncover the Torah and find the spot where your reading begins so your parents can touch with their talits and with their talitot and kiss. Again, page 752, Leviticus chapter 26, verses 44 through 46. Yamdu Sarah bar Avram v'Sarah v'Yoshua ben Moshe v'Leah v'Leah ha'acharona.
Right there.
Go ahead. Baruch Adonai Amvarach.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ואף גם זאת בהיותם בארץ אויביהם לא מסתים ולא גלתים להעלותם להפר ברית איתם כי אני אלוהיהם וזכרתי להם ברית ראשונים אשר הוצאתי אותם מארץ מצרים לעיני הגויים, לחיות להם לאלוהים, אני אלה החוקים והמשפטים, והתורות אשר נתן אני בינו ובין בני ישראל. V'har Sinai v'yad Moshe.
Baruch Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam atah b'tocheinu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful reading, Jericho. Your first reading from the Torah. You've got one more coming. But what I want you to do is just cover the Torah for a second, because though this today is a very, very special day for you, it's also a special day for your parents, who I'm sure can't quite believe that it's already your bar mitzvah, just like Leslie was saying. We remember you when you were crawling. But this is a huge moment for parents to be able to see their child, and in this case, their first child, reach this moment. And I'm trying everything to try and get your mom to cry, because she warned me that we need to have lots of Kleenex on hand. I think Silas was on Kleenex duty. Yeah, he doesn't remember. But anyway, let's make a special blessing for the parents of the bar mitzvah. Misha Beirach Avoteinu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yevarech et Sarah bar Avram v'Sarah Ved Yehoshua ben Moshe v'Leah Horeya Barchur Habar Mitzvah Keshem shezachu legadel benam ad hayom hazeh Ken yizku lamshich u'ladrich et benam Liot ben ne'eman lam Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu yechazkem v'yamtzeim Vivarchem bechesed uv'shalom v'nomar Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Primrose and Josh Knazan, parents of Jericho, who becomes a bar mitzvah today. They thank you, God, for the strength you've granted them to raise their son so he could reach this time. Guide them to recognize Jericho's new responsibilities among the Jewish people and bless them with joy and fulfillment on this and every day. And let us all say, Amen. Yesher koach and mazel tov to both of you, parents, bar mitzvah parents. It's a wonderful accomplishment. And now let's turn the camera back to Jericho. Parents, stay up here, please, of course. We're going to call Jericho to the Torah. Now he gets to recite the blessing that you've just recited, that grandparents have recited, that we've heard on Zoom, that our congregants have recited. This is another one of those big moments, like reading from the Torah, like receiving your talit, being called to the Torah by your Hebrew name, touching the Torah with your talit, kissing it, and then reciting these blessings. And because it's your first Aliyah, Jericho, we have a very special call-up for you. Yeah. Yamod, 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 Bar Mitzvah. Yamod, Abachur Bar Mitzvah, Yaakov Yosef, Ben Yehoshua v'Sarah, Maftir Chazak. Bar Mitzvah, Bar Mitzvah, Bar Mitzvah, Ale, 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 Lichvod Torah, Ale, 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 Lichvod Torah, Lichvod Torah, Lichvod Torah. Just before you recite the blessings, you want to uncover the Torah. I'll come up there and roll it just ahead. Our maftir, our concluding reading, the very first Torah reading Jericho learned for the Shabbat of Hanukkah, the maftir of Shabbat of Hanukkah, is page 807 in the Etz Chaim. It is Numbers, chapter 7, verses 18 through 23. Numbers, chapter 7, verses 18 through 23.
Hold it. Help. Help. Baruch Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Amvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ביום השני הקריב נתנאל בן צוער ניסי יששכר הקריב את קורבנו כר כסף אחת 30 ומאה משקלה מזרק אחד כסף 70 שקל ושקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת בולה ושמן למנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה קטורת פר אחד בן בקר עיל אחד כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה זרזים אחד לחטאת וזבל שלמים בקר שניים אלים 5 עתידים 5 כבשים בני שנה 5 זה קורבן נתנאל בן צוער.
You can touch your talit to where you finished. Beautiful reading. Great maftir. And now the concluding blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan לנו תורת האמת וחיי עולם נטע ותורנו ברוך אתה Adonai נותן התורה.
Amen. Jericho, if you just want to cover the Torah for one more second. Still, you got to take the hugs for sure. But I want to give you a special blessing on your first aliyah to the Torah and the occasion of your bar mitzvah. Misha Beirach, Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Hu Yevarech, Et Yaakov, Yosef, Ben Yehoshua, V'Sara, Shehigia LaMitzvot, Ve'ala, Lichvod HaMakom, Ve'lichvod HaTorah, Ve'lichvod HaShabbat, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmereu, V'Chayehu, V'Chonen Libo Liot Shalem Im Adonai Elohav, Lahagot b'Torato, Lalechet b'Drachav, V'Lishmor mitzvotav, V'Yishlach bracha v'tzacha b'chol masei yadav, Yizku horav legadlo, L'Torah u'chupa u'masim tovim, V'Yimsachen v'secha tov b'nei Elohim ve'adam v'nomar. Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Jericho, Knazan, son of Primrose and Josh, who has come for an aliyah this morning upon reaching the age of mitzvot, with reverence for God and respect for the Torah and Shabbat. Jericho, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, protect you and sustain you, helping you to be wholehearted in your faith, studying Torah, fulfilling the mitzvot, and walking in God's ways. May you continue to listen to your parents as they guide you on the journey through maturity, and to the threefold blessings in Jewish tradition of Torah, a life of understanding and wisdom, Chuppah, a life of loving relationships, and Ma'asim Tovim, a life of good deeds. May you find favor before God and the entire community everywhere. And let us all say, Amen. Simin tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'simin tov, simin tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'simin tov, simin tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'simin tov. Yehei lanu, yehei lanu, yehei lanu, u'lecho Yisrael. 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 So how do you feel now that you've read from the Torah?
Good.
That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
Parents, Primrose, Josh, you can come down from the bima. Jericho, your haftarah is next, so if you want to take a drink of water and psych yourself up for that. Jericho's haftarah is his original haftarah from the Shabbat of Chanukah. Interestingly, it's done twice a year because it is also the haftarah of Beha'alotcha, which is the parsha in which the menorah, connection to Chanukah, is completed. And it comes from the prophet Zechariah, who has a vision in the end of the haftarah of, you guessed it, a menorah. This is the connection to that parsha, but also to Shabbat Chanukah. When we originally learned it, Jericho learned an abridged version, as we do. And then when we had more time, he learned the whole thing. So he's got the full Haftarah, page 1270 in the Etz Chaim. It is Zechariah. Starts with chapter 2, verse 14, and goes till the end of chapter 4, verse 7. Again, 1270 in the Etz Chaim, Zechariah, the full Haftarah, starting chapter 2, verse 14. Just before we get to that, I invite you to rise, as I will be moving up to the bima for Hagban Glila of the second scroll. Please rise.
Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe ki mitzion tetzeh Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim ki mitzion tetzeh Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. V'kedushato. Jericho, I loved hearing you sing next to me. Very nice. One day, maybe you'll be leading the family service. Who knows? No pressure. And for now, you're Haftorah.
Find your Haftorah.
Find it.
Please be seated. Again, it's the Haftarah from Shabbat, Chanukah, and also Baha'alotcha. Page 1270, Zechariah, chapter 2, verse 14. Jericho, take it away with the blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar binviim tovim v'rtzav v'divrachem hanemarim b'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo v'Yisrael amo u'v'nviei hamet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Rani v'simhi b'tzion ki haniniva shanti v'tohe numanai v'niuvu goim rabbi Adonai bayom hahu v'yu li la'am v'shanti v'tohe v'yida ki Adonai sabaoth shlachani elai v'nahalanai et Yehuda helko al adma hakodesh uhar od Yerushalayim. Has kosar mipnei Adonai ki naor mimon kodsho vereini et Yoshua hakohen hagadol omed mipnei mal'a Adonai v'satan omed lo yamino l'sitno v'yomer Adonai el hasatan yigar Adonai v'ha hasatan yigar Adonai v'ha Hauher Yerushalayim halo zeh ud mutzah me'esh Yoshua haya lavush begadim tzoyim v'omed lifnei hamalah Yan vayomer el hamdim lefnav lemor hasiru habegadim hatzoyim melav v'yomer elav rehevarti melecha avnecha v'obesh otat mahaltzot v'omar yasimu sanif tahor orosho v'yasimu hatsanif hatahor orosho v'yabeshuhu begadim mala anai omed v'yad mala anai Yoshua lemor Komar Adonai Tzavaot Im bidrahai telef ve'im mishmarti tishmor וגם אתה תדין את ביתי, וגם תשמור את הצרי, ונתתי לך מלכים בין העמדים האלה. שמנה יהושע הכהן הגדול, אתה ורעי היושבים לפניו, כי אנשי מופת המה, כי הנני מביא את עבדי צמא, כי הנה האבן אשר נתתי לפני יהושע, אבן אחת 7 עיניים, הנני מפתח פיתוחה, נום עיני צבאות, ומשתי את עוון הר תהי ביום אחד, ביום ההוא, נום עיני צבאות, תקראו איש לרעהו, על תחת גפן ועל תחת תאנה. וישוב המלאך הדובר בי, ויראני כאיש אשר יור משנתו, ויאמר אלי, מה אתה רואה? ואומר, ראיתי בעיני מנורת זהב כולה וגולה הראשה, ו7 נרותיה עליה, 7 ו7 מצקות לנרות אשר על ראשה, ו2 זיתים עליה, אחד ממין הגולה, ואחד על שמאלה, וען ואמר אל המלאך הדובר בי לאמור, מה אלה אני? ויען המלאך הדובר בי, ויאמר אלי, הלא ידעת מה המה אלה? ואמר, לא אני. ויען ויאמר אלי לאמור, זה דבר עני על זרובבל, לאמור לא ויל ולא רהוע, כי אם ברכי, אמר עני צבאות, אתה הגדול לפני זרובבל למישור, והוציא את האבן הראשה, תשועות הן לה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר כל העולמים, צדיק בהדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, ומדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמרים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך, והור לא ישוב ריקם, כי המלך נאמן, ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך וברוך שמו.
האל הנאמן בכל דבריו.
אמן.
רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע, במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך וברוך שמו.
משמח ציון בבניך.
אמן.
שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו, באליהו הנביא עבדך, ומלכות בית דוד משיחך, במהרה יבוא, ויגל ליבנו, על כיסאו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו. כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא ייפה נורו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך וברוך שמו.
מגן דוד.
אמן.
על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים, ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ותפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך, ומברכים אותה, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך וברוך שמו.
מקדש השבת.
Amen. Mazel tov and Yasher Koach. What an awesome job. How do you feel now that you got through your... I mean, you did this once in December on Zoom, but how does it feel to do it here?
My throat hurts.
It's what?
My voice hurts.
Don't know what I'm going to do with you. I'm sorry your voice hurts. Would you like a lozenge? Do you want some more water?
You have to be careful when you ask Jericho a question. He'll give you the real answer.
You'd think that I would have learned in a year and a half, but I didn't. I wanted to share. There have been so many nice messages on the chat. Make sure they stay up there, so make sure you'll be able to see them after. But I wanted to share two. Your aunt Elle and Auntie Elle, Uncle Mike, Ethan and Samantha, Mazel Tov Yasher Koach, so proud of you, and reminding me that New York love means it is super strong. But I love that one. But I love Hannah Schaefer. You're doing great,
Hannah.
Jerry. Also, I think we have the same Haftorah, but you're doing better than I did. And that's just kind of all of the great messages you're getting. Jericho, in all seriousness, it's been a long time coming, but that was terrific. Smooth, calm, confident, musical, just flawless. You did a great
where you
job.
got calm and confident from.
Yeah. Well, just, you know what they say about the duck on the water, right? He looks very calm on top, but underneath his feet are going crazy. You may be feeling nervous or anything on the inside, but on the outside you seem calm and confident to all of us.
I've not heard that saying once.
Okay, let's take the microphone away from him for a little while so that we can get on with the service. Jericho does need the mic for his speech, which is coming up. But Jericho, you can have a seat for a minute because your speech is around the corner. But we have one more blessing that we're going to make. Leslie is going to help us with this one. It's back in the Siddur. So thank you for following along with all of our readings, jumping through the Bible. It was a great job to get the Torah readings and to get the Haftarah there. But we're going to go to page 34 back in our Siddur, again on the website, esedwinnipeg.ca. This is the Misha Berach for everyone we know who is sick, everyone recovering from a physical ailment or a mental health issue or a spiritual sickness or an emotional weakness, anyone who needs a refuah shlema, a full and complete recovery to a state of better health. We're going to pray for all of them. We have names of people we will call out. You can call the office during the week and add names to our list for a month. That's 4 Shabbats and twice a day, every day during our minyanim that we recite this prayer and call their names. You can keep names in your mind. You can add them to the chat and we'll call them if they're not on the list. And of course, not only do we add those folks who are sick, but even the doctors and nurses and healthcare providers who are continuing to help us battle this pandemic worldwide, turning the corner, getting better, but it's still difficult in many places and taxing on our medical system. So everyone involved, we pray for them. Aviva bat Malka, Yaakov ben Sion ben Miriam, Isabella bat Sarah, Batsheva bat Sarah, Leah Esther Bracha bat Etel, Yitzchak Dov ben Bela, Moshe Aharon ben Leah, Miriam Rachel bat Leah, Chavanecha bat Sabra, Ruth Bluma Bracha bat Yita Bluma, Paltiel ben Shandel, Hachazan Shefer ben Miriam, Shandel bat Miriam, Harav Avraham Yehoshua Heschel ben Ruth, Reisa bat Sarah, Gavriel ben Etel Gita, Chaya Mindel bat Serafega, Esther Leah bat Menicha, Leah bat Adel, Colin Rich, Maureen Rich, Chaim Osher ben Chaim Malka, Meir David ben Machlia, Rachel bat Sonia, Alfie Glass, Sparrow ben Dvora, Esther Bela bat Sarah, Lucy Braverman, Michael Braverman, Karen Greenberg, and Georgina Tassara, Judy Itzkevich, Phyllis Hatskin, David Zvi ben Sarah Pessel, Dina Rachel bat Sarah Esther, Yitzchak Chaim ben Sarah, Tova Yael bat Dina Rachel, Shira Naomi bat Dina Rachel, Eliezer Meir ben Tova Yael, Katriel Yosef ben Tova Yael, Yisrael Chaim ben Shira Naomi, Dave Scammell, Harav Reuven Pinchas ben Yehudit, Alukim Pesach ben Esther Pessi, Sharon bat Golda, Shoshana bat Sarah, Adrian McDonald, Frida bat Regina, Chaya Zahava bat Leah, Eliyahu Lev ben Rivka, Atara bat Etel, Shmuel Leib ben Gitel, Dana Brinley, Janice Diner bat Batsheva, Stephen Alexander Lee, Kalman Beryl, Yitzchak Moshe ben Rachel Reza, Ariel Lee, Denise Framlich, Tzvia bat Brana, Michelle Sipe, Lisbeth Gleckman, Marcia Cates, Tova bat Leah, Herbert Singer, Carla bat Nancy, Andres ben Gloria, Temi bat Rochel, Yehudit bat Rachel, Isabella bat Sarah, Chana bat Chaya Etel, Malka bat Yaakova, Sam's List, Cindy Levinson. Thank you to everyone who has added names. Carmel bat Iris. And everyone else in our thoughts for this Misha Berach on page 34.
Misha Sheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Leslie. Just before we return the Torah to the Ark, we have a special prayer for peace, which we are going to add to our service. It's found on page 39. I want to make sure I get the right page. 39. Yes. And it'll be led for us by Prisco Madayag, Jericho's Tatai. I got close. So it's page 39. It's a prayer for peace. And it's Prisco Madayag, who is Jericho's Tatai, his grandfather. Yes.
May it be your will, O God, that all war and bloodshed cease, and that the great and wondrous peace come to the world. May nation not lift up swords against nation. May they learn war no more. May all the inhabitants of the world recognize that we were not created for complex rivalry, hatred, jealousy, or killing, but rather that we were created in order to acknowledge you, to praise you for all time. Have compassion upon us and fulfill for us the promises of Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you will be lie down. None shall make you afraid, and I will remove every evil beast from the land, and the sword shall not pass over your land. Justice shall flow like water, and righteousness like the mighty stream. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge for the Lord, as the waters cover the sea.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mazel Tov.
Mazel tov.
Beautiful words. I'm so glad we could have them in the service today. A prayer for peace. Always, always welcome. Now we'll return the 2 scrolls of the Torah to the Ark. We invite you to rise wherever you are. We invite the family to come back. Jericho, we need you again. Silas, you too. Primrose and Josh as well, to help open the Ark and to carry the Sifrei Torah. And back at an unspecified mystery location, Rabbi Anibal Mas, joining us on page 41, Yehalalu, and then page 43, Etz Chaim. Rabbi, welcome back.
Yehallelu et Shem Adonai, ki nitzgav shemo levado. Oto al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem kerem le'amo. Tehillah lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Etz Chaimi lamachazikim ba ve'tomcheya meushar deracheya darechei noam bechol netivoteya shalom shalom Ashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva Kadesh Yamenu Kekedem Etz Chaimi Lamachazikim ba Bechol netivoteya Shalom Shalom.
Asher Koach, Rabbi, please be seated, everyone. That's why we zoom them in. That's a big one. That was great. We don't do that Etz Chaim very often, and I love it when we do. It's very, it's upbeat, isn't it? It's triumphant, as the end of the Torah service should be. But what comes next is really the triumph. Jericho, we need you. Speech time. Jericho has had a lot of time to reflect on becoming a bar mitzvah and the journey to get to this moment, studying his parsha, his original parsha, I believe. What? Do you have it? I have to tell you, my favorite story, I think, about all of my stories with Jericho from our lessons together is that for most of this pandemic, with a lot of kids kind of on hold and everything, I had close to 20 students during the week. So that's 4 solid days, Monday through Thursday, and sometimes even before Kabbalat Shabbat on Friday, of lessons and all on Zoom. And it's not perfect. It's tough, but managing. And Jericho's was usually my last lesson of the week, Thursdays at 5:30. And Jericho is my only student on WhatsApp, which means I have to switch from my iPad and computer to my phone. I have to turn my phone sideways and take off the portrait lock. And every time I would call Jericho, one of two things would happen. He wouldn't be there. Jericho, are you there? We have a lesson. Oh, yeah. Okay, 1 sec. I'll be right there. And if he was there, I couldn't see him because he had the phone on his bed pointed up at the ceiling. So for a while, I wasn't quite sure what Jericho was looking like, but I definitely know what the light fixture in his and Silas's room looks like. And I was like, Jericho, like when you do your bar mitzvah parsha like on Zoom in December, you know you're going to have to like get a mount or something for, oh yeah, I guess so, right? And then a lot of times he would show up and he wouldn't take off the portrait lock on his phone, so he would be sideways like this. Half the lesson was an adventure just to get him all set up.
You were the one on the landscape. I was on portrait.
How dare you? How dare you? But what I was going to say is now he is all set up in person here in the sanctuary, the Bema, where he belongs.
Yeah, I don't have a portrait lock.
Yeah, that's right. But maybe we'll take a screenshot of you looking so handsome in your suit and tie and talit and kippah on the Bema. And can't wait to hear what you have to say. Just promise you'll savor the moment and won't go too quickly. Promise?
Sure.
Devar Torah, Bar Mitzvah speech, Jericho Knazan. Take it away, sir.
I want to talk to you today about getting ready for a brighter future. In Parsha Vayeshev, we read about Jacob and his sons. Most specifically, it follows the life of Joseph, who is presented as being his father's favorite and living a happy life at home. Joseph's brothers weren't happy at all about having to deal with Joseph. Things got worse when Jacob made a multicolored coat for Joseph. Joseph's brothers' jealousy grew to the point that they decided to sell Joseph to a group of Ishmaelites and fake Joseph's death to trick their father. The Ishmaelites sold Joseph as a slave to an Egyptian man named Potiphar, who was one of the Pharaoh's officials. At Potiphar's home, Joseph excelled above all the other slaves to the point that Potiphar decided to put him in charge of his entire house. But then Potiphar's wife started to seduce Joseph, who rejected all of her advances. Angry at these rejections, Potiphar's wife presented fake charges against Joseph. Being a slave in a foreign country, nobody cared what Joseph had to say, and he was thrown into the Egyptian jail. But even in jail, the Torah said that he excelled and became the administrator of the jail, helping the guards to run the whole place. Joseph also has the reputation of being very good at interpreting the meaning of dreams. One day, two prisoners came to Joseph asking for help understanding their dreams. One was the Pharaoh's butler, and the other was Pharaoh's baker. After listening to the dreams, Joseph told them that the butler will be found innocent and returned to the palace, while the baker will be found guilty and he will be hanged. That was exactly what happened. Before the butler returned to the palace, Joseph asked him to remember his favor, but the butler forgot about Joseph right away. Poor Joseph always seems to be forgotten. Forgotten by his brothers, forgotten by the Egyptian society, and forgotten by the butler. And I'm sure he thought he was forgotten by God. But nevertheless, the Torah tells us that he kept doing the right thing and excelling wherever he was. Eventually, this way of facing life paid off, and he was rewarded by God when he became Egypt's prime minister. Now we learn that he wasn't forgotten by God. He needed time and different experiences to develop his character, to eventually become a great prime minister in the midst of the greatest famine Egypt had to endure. Becoming the prime minister of Egypt without all those experiences to make him wiser, to teach him about the Egyptian society, wouldn't be a blessing, but would be a curse. He wouldn't be able to do a good job. If we want too many things too fast, it might not be good for us. We need time and experience to be able to sustain our success. Talent can take us to an important place fast, but we need more than talent to be able to stay there. Joseph always did the right thing and learned a lot about Egypt. Eventually, he needed all that experience to succeed at his job. This teaches us that we should still work hard and try our best, even if we don't get an instant reward. We should stand strong in the face of adversity, even if it doesn't pay off until the very end. Now, a bar mitzvah traditionally happens on the Shabbat after a boy's 13th birthday. This is why we're doing it 6 months after my birthday. It's been a really long week. And I'm going to tell you a personal story, something about myself. And while I may be a soccer player and a bit of an artist, for those who don't know, I have a horrible YouTube channel called Juan Pro Gamer 12. My name is not Juan. But I'm going to talk about that instead of something important. I remember when I was 9 in 4th grade when I got my tablet. It was the first electronic device that was truly mine. It was the first serious thing I owned that was truly mine. So like any self-respecting 4th grader, first thing I did after signing up for an email was make a bad YouTube channel the day I got the tablet. And you can check the About page on my channel to see that it was created December 6, 2017, my 10th birthday. Jericho dies from his horror... It went through a number of name changes. Game to game. Jericho plays. Jericho 2099. Jericho dies from his horrible content. And finally, Juan Pro Gamer 12. I've really sunk my teeth into this, as I have more than 150 videos. Watching past videos doesn't feel bad anymore because I know my experience with my YouTube has benefited me in the long run. I know what I was doing wrong now. I watched videos and looked up to YouTubers for the money, fame, and financial gain. I remember uploading my first video thinking, this video is going to go viral, I know it! And I assume you can guess how that went from the fact that I'm not famous. Every video I thought to myself, I know my last video got 3 views, but this time will be different. I'll be famous after this one. But now I know that I was doing it for the wrong reasons and trying to get results too fast. And even now, when I actually have a few videos, upwards of 1,000 views, you can see it hasn't done me any good. The reason I upload now is to make people laugh. Sometimes that person is me, because it doesn't even take your video to be watched to get a laugh. Now I upload for the future, because now I'm even walking off with some good editing skills and actual knowledge about camera work. So I've actually learned from this horrible mistake. Maybe one day I'll be a famous YouTuber. Probably not. But meanwhile, I will, just like Joseph, keep giving my best and do things for the right reason. Something else I've learned about for my bar mitzvah is the importance of tzedakah. I used to know about tzedakah, but I never knew the true meaning. Tzedakah may mean charity or justice or righteousness, but most of all, it means doing the right thing. Doing the right thing is something I've learned about, and I can now truly do for myself. Now that I'm bar mitzvahed, giving to charity is something I'd like to do on my own. That's why I'd like to donate some of my bar mitzvah money to Main Street Project. The ideals of Main Street Project is helping those in the face of adversity, giving an indiscriminate, safe place to any who need it, and above all, forgiveness. Forgiveness can help many people, and I want to help the people who need it the most. And before I'm forcibly taken off the stage, I would like to thank so many important people who helped me get to this point, such as my mom. My mom is great. She's been by my side, supporting me the entire time. She cheered me on for everything, and my friends look up to her too. We had an assignment where we had to write about human rights activists, and as a joke, I suggested my mom to my friends, as she has done some plays on racism and discrimination. I didn't do my assignment on her. My friends did. She is a great inspiration to me and really funny too. I can't count how many times I was feeling grumpy or down, and she broke the tension with a joke of varying quality. I'd like to thank my dad for always cheering me up when I'm sad. Thank you for going alongside me and taking me out to see the world. We've gone to so many places together, and now I'm here, 13 years since a baby at my bar mitzvah. One of my earliest memories was when we were playing the Lego Star Wars video game, and you were player 1, and I was disconnected controller. Silas, my favorite brother. I remember when you were a baby. We fought. I cried more than you. I remember when I was in the kitchen and missed your first steps. I remember your first sentence. When watching Iron Giant, you said, and I quote, "Uh-oh, robot dead." I love you, Silas, and you're irreplaceable. And honestly, can anyone ever say anything harsh to that face? Look at him. He's clapping. I love my Nana and Tete. We always went to your house after school, after all. Me and Silas love going to Assiniboine Park during the summer, and I've hated the fact that we haven't really gotten to see you in months. We used to go into your house and see houseplants as far as the eye could see. So many road trips and so many memories. We've missed you greatly. Bubba Sharon and Zeta Murray, we've missed you. I remember when Silas was a little boy, he crawled onto Zeta's chest and asked with 100% seriousness, "Zeta, are you pregnant?" And that's a memory I will never forget. I remember my yearly birthday presents, where in the following January, I would have a sleepover at your house, and you would take me to see the Robert Munch play the following day. These are some of my greatest memories of you guys, and me and Silas have really missed you over the pandemic. Bubby Vaughn and Poppy Joe. Florida is far, and it's been a while since we've been there, but whenever we are, it's always a blast to see you guys, and I always make lifelong memories whenever I go. Me and Silas have missed you, but we love when you call. I'm incredibly thankful for this Talis, and that even tons of kilometers away, you're still taking part in this service. We love you. Zeta Joe, Zeta Jack, Bubby Faye, and Bubby Sylvia. These are some of my great-grandparents who can sadly not be with us today. Today is Zeta Jack's birthday, and our last date was actually Zeta Joe's birthday. They are my namesake, and I wish I could have met them. Bubby still is Silas' namesake, and these are my great-grandparents I look to greatly. I got this ring this morning by my dad, which was a gift from my Bubby Faye, and I can't appreciate it more. Auntie Eliana, Auntie Jessica, Bubby Vaughn, and Papa Joe, thank you for being an important part in today's Aliyahs, all the way from America. Thank you. Ami, you're my closest friend, man. It's inspiring to me how much you care about the environment. You're practically saving the turtles at this point. In all seriousness, you're one of my best friends, and I could never replace you. I'm so glad you could be here today. And one last big thank you to everyone who's watching my bar mitzvah as I speak. It's a beautiful day, and Shabbat Shalom. Yay!
Yay is right. That was incredible. Yasher Koach, what an unbelievable speech. Your personality shines through. You delivered it so well. And you're a funny guy. You're a brilliant guy. You're teaching in there. And you may think that YouTube analogy from your own life, you kept saying it was a silly thing. I thought it was so well done. And what you've learned and how you were able to take the lessons of Joseph and what he learned and apply them to your life. That's the point of Dvar Torah. That was incredible. And I think everyone listening and watching can appreciate it in their own lives too, working at something and getting better. And then just the way you talk about tzedakah, but also the way you talk about your family. And there's love there. There's humor there. It was very, very well done, Jericho. I've been looking forward to that speech for a while, and I think it paid off. I know it paid off. It was fantastic.
Can I say my mom's a writer? I got it
Your
from
mom
her.
did not write that speech. I just think it's funny that every time I called you for a video chat, you couldn't figure out how to work the camera, and yet now you're a YouTuber and you want to be a famous YouTuber. Maybe baby steps there, pal. Baby steps. Let's make sure that we get the portrait lock off first, and then. The truth is, you have been really patient. You've persevered. Never once did I ever get the sense that you were frustrated. Maybe you were, but it never let on that you were frustrated, that you were discouraged by the pandemic and how it affected your bar mitzvah and it kept getting delayed. You just kept carrying on like you do in your way. And your way is an incredible way, because look at what it has led you to, how you've accomplished so much. You've read from the Torah, you read the blessings, the Haftarah, all this stuff in Hebrew, that speech. I think the point is, Jericho, that you are set up for the next chapter in your life. It may feel like you've reached an end finally, but the truth is, it's the beginning. This is the beginning of your life now as a Jewish adult. As you go on over the next few years, you'll get to more and more responsibility, more and more things that are going to be yours. Remember how you felt with your very own tablet? There's a lot of more very own things that are just yours that are coming. And I can't wait. I think we all can't wait to see what you do with them and what you do with your life as you use all of the skills that were on display today, but especially the fact that you are somebody guided by a life of ma'asim tovim, good deeds. You get that. You've always gotten that. We've watched you grow up your whole life at this synagogue, as Leslie was saying, and that is something that has always been consistent with you. Even when I couldn't see you on the screen, I knew that you were motivated and guided by good deeds. So whatever you do in life, do it in your way, because your way is excellent, as you proved today. And to recognize that, we want to give you some gifts. If you look back there.
Car?
No. That's in the parking lot. We can give that to you later. But what we do have is, on behalf of the Sheretz Zedek Sisterhood, starting off, a Kiddush cup and candlestick holders. Just leave them. You can get them later. The Sisterhood wanted me to mention that, Primrose, you get an honorary complimentary membership in Sisterhood for Jericho's bar mitzvah. But the Shabbat, celebration of Shabbat is very, very important. And the candlestick holders and the Kiddush cup are small. They're portable. They allow you to celebrate Shabbat wherever your life may take you. The blue box from Jewish National Fund, Karen Kayemet L'Israel, is another way you can perform tzedakah and support Israel. Now you've got your own. You will see in a package of folder, like a folder there is a certificate from JNF. They have planted 10 trees in your honor in the land of Israel. There's also a couple of institutions, universities in Israel that have thrown a little tuition money your way. When you get to university age, you may want to go to Israel and study, and that could help encourage you. But sooner than that, grade 9 around the corner, BBYO, your first year of eligibility in BBYO. If you want to join that youth organization, your first year is free, thanks to a generous donation from Cheryl and Earl Barish. Also in there, you will find your certificate of bar mitzvah, attesting that you did in fact become bar mitzvah today, signed by Rabbi Anibal Mas and myself. And 2 books to add to your library and help you with your learning going forward. The Complete How-To Handbook, A Guide for Jewish Living, and Coming of Age, A History of the Jewish People of Manitoba. You don't need to read them in one sitting. They are references, resources to help you understand where you came from, where your family has come from, and also answer questions that you may have about Israel and about Judaism and about your life along the way. So you can always reach out to us, but you also have some books. Now, the last thing to kind of mark this occasion is a blessing, because everything you've done today is totally worthy of a special blessing. And for that, I want to call your parents, who in the style of the family service are going to recite the priestly blessing, the blessing for parents and children. The folder, it's just in the little cubby hole on the right-hand side. I think I stuck it right there. Not in the, no, it's loose. It's one of the. Perfect. So this is the version of the Yivarechecha, the parents' blessing that we do at the family service.
Yaverecha Adonai Vishmarecha
Ratzon
Yair Adonai Panav Alecha Vihunecha
Ken Yehi Ratzon
Yisa Adonai Panav Alecha V'yasem Lecha Shalom
Yehi Ratzon.
May God bless you and protect you. May God show you favor and be gracious to you. And may God show you kindness and grant you peace.
Amen.
Amen. And Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will, a beautiful blessing. Just one more blessing for all of us. I invite everyone to rise for the Shehechianu, the blessing of thanksgiving, to celebrate this milestone occasion for this family, for this young man, and for our whole congregation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, who has given us life, who has sustained us, and who has enabled us to reach this moment. Amen. Let's remain standing for Aleinu. Silas, you want to come back to the bema and help your family open the ark one final time? Yeah. For Aleinu on page 44. Led for us by Leslie Emery.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liyotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu shehu noteh shamayim veyoser haaretz umoshev karov hashamayim imal ushchinatu zor begavei meromim hu Eloheinu ein od Malkeinu וזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו
The ark is closed, but we remain standing for the mourner's Kaddish on page 46. This week, we mourn the passing of Bernice Risson Levine and offer our heartfelt sympathy to Alan and Angie Levine, Brian and Susan Levine, Shayla and Jeff Morrison, Joel Levine and Stephen Hines, Mel Kleiman and Wendy Wright, Sharon and Brian Earn. We extend our condolences to families still in the first month of losing their loved ones, to the families of Kenneth Gumprich and the family of Frida Raber. This week, we commemorate the yahrzeits of Albert Shapiro, brother of Gloria Cantor, Morris Whiteman, father of Claire Whiteman, Risa Weissman, aunt of Claire Whiteman, Aubrey Asper, uncle of Gail Asper, Abraham Burstein, father of Linda DeVeris, Rose Chachanoff, mother-in-law of Shelley Chachanoff, Leon Pinkovich, father-in-law of Rochelle Pinkovich and grandfather of Leon and Miriam, Mickey Davinsky, father of Penny Yellen, Myra Kravetsky, father of Patty Morris, Ernest Slutchik, husband of Donna Slutchik, Mamie Kreitberg, mother of Hy Kreitberg, and Mendel Sternfeld, father of Debbie Lipkin, Zichronam Livracha, all of blessed memory. From One More Candle, the organization that helps us remember the 1.5 million children who perished in the Holocaust. Every day, for all of our minyanim, twice a day, we recite the name of a child who perished, and today, on the 9th of Tammuz, we remember Celine Coel of blessed memory. Mourner's Kaddish, page 46. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyamechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam ulamei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. Thank you to the wonderful team who made this service happen. Bill Wiseman wasn't with us this morning. He was on the chat. He was on watching, helped us get the sanctuary and everything ready, as he does every week, part of our wonderful ritual team. Rabbi Anibal Mas, who worked the Zoom beautifully during the Torah service and participated from his secret location with beautiful melodies. My favorite, Marvin Polanski, our audiovisual director, who did an incredible job. Leslie Emery, our soloist, our cantorial soloist, our lay clergy, who did a fabulous job leading us through Shacharit and so much of the service. A great job with the first 3 Torah readings. And to all of you for participating in this service. We made it. It was a long one. There were great milestones. There were great moments. We've got one thing left. We want to do Adon Olam in the family service style. We want the family to come back on the bima. Leslie's got her guitar. A true family service experience. Remember, you can like our service, click the thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, you'll be notified, click on the bell every time we go live for our services and programs. Send us emails, stay in touch with each other, stay well, and we're here. So come and find us whenever you need us here at Shared Zedek. And thank you for all the wonderful comments and messages on the chat as well. Page 47, Adon Olam. Hashem Allah, B'terem kol yitzir nivra, Le'nasa v'cheso kol, Hazai melech shemo nikra.
Behu echad ve'ein sheni, Le'am shilo, le'achbira, Beli tachlit Belo ha'ot ve'hamizrah. Adon olam asher malach, B'terem kol yitzir nivra, Le'nasa b'chefzo kol, Azai melech shemo nikra. B'terem kol yitzir nivra, Le'nasa v'cheso kol, Hazai melech shemo nikra. Be'yado avgid ruchi, Be'tishan ve'a'ira, Ve'im ruchi geviyanti Adonai li v'lo ira. Adon olam asher malach, B'terem kol yitzir nivra, Le'nasa v'chefzo kol, Azai melech shemo nikra. Adon olam asher malach, B'terem kol yitzir nivra, Le'nasa v'cheso kol, Hazai melech shemo nikra. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Shabbat, and we'll see you next time. And Mazel Tov again to Jericho and his family. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Bye.